The dough actually kind of feels like Play-Doh. It's like really happy to become a pretzel. I'm Zoe, and I'm the head baker at Simon and the Whale and Studio in the Freehand Hotel. And we are going to make soft pretzels. The first thing we'll do is start with the dough. So we'll start with cool water. We're using honey as the sweetener in this dough. I would say a good sub would also be brown sugar. We're gonna do 1 egg and 1 yolk. Those are our wet ingredients. Next is gonna be dry. This is unbleached bread flour, a little rye, our salt. This is instant yeast. The instant yeast behaves well in high sugar and high fat environments. So the pretzel dough is enriched with butter. It also has a decent amount of sugar for sweetness. So the instant yeast does a better job at rising doughs with those components. And then we have a 1/2-inch dice, not fully softened butter, but maybe 30 minutes out of the fridge. We're gonna start on low speed for 2 minutes. We are initially looking for the dough just to come together into a shaggy mass on low speed. Some of the butter chunks will still be in there. They won't be broken up yet, that's fine. Then once we kick it up to medium speed, that's when we're actually gonna start developing the structure of the dough and incorporating the butter into it. Rye flour is one of my favorites, and it's used in a lot of German baking, and pretzels are originally from Germany, so we tied it in that way. So we're looking for a thin, deeply caramelized from the lye, crackly shell that's encrusted with salt, and then a buttery, soft interior. Okay, so now we're gonna kick it up to medium speed for 4 minutes. I grew up competitive figure skating, so I was at the mall all the time because that's where the rink was. So that's why I ate so many Auntie Anne's growing up. I needed to carb load to get prepared for my practice. Our dough's finished mixing. It started to snake up the hook of the machine, and so that's a good sign that our structure is beginning to develop. It's still really sticky, but once it chills, the dough's gonna firm up. We are gonna spray this bowl. Wrap it. I'm gonna chill the dough now for 4 hours and ideally overnight. This is the dough that's been chilled, and now we're going to divide it and pre-shape it. The way that I dusted the surface is so fabulous, is because you're actually using your wrist to disperse the flour in a really even and thin layer. So we're trying not to incorporate too much additional flour into the dough in the process of dividing and shaping it. Fabulous for a reason. Now I'm dividing this into 90-gram pieces, and I'm trying to retain them into a relative square shape because ultimately these are going to become logs, and if they're already starting out as square, then they're gonna be more willing to achieve that shape. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little more flour, not too much, and then I'm just gonna flatten out my piece of dough and roll it up into a little log. And going about 5 inches, it doesn't need to be exact. This is just to introduce the shape. The reason why you want to chill them now is because we're going to roll these into really long ropes, which works the dough a lot. So we want the gluten in the dough to have a chance to relax before we ask it to extend to a super long length. These have been chilling for about 15 minutes, rolling out on either side of this 1-inch section in the middle. Initially, I want to form this little belly at the center. that's gonna become the bottom of my pretzel. So I'm rolling with quite a bit of pressure and slowly moving my hands towards the ends. I'm gonna taper it slightly at the ends, which is just making the ends a little pointy. Right now I'm at about 25 inches, which is good. There's a fast way to shape and a slow way to shape. I think it takes a little bit of practice to get the fast way down. So I'm gonna take both ends and then I'm gonna pull the pretzel into the air, twist it, and throw it back down on the table. So I'm gonna start with a double twist and then bring the ends to the side and pin them down here. And then I'm gonna gently transfer that over to my baking tray. Okay, so now we're gonna do the slow way, which is once I have my rope, I'm gonna bring the belly down and form this U shape. Take the ends, twist them over twice, and then bring this down to the sides here. And just one point on the belly. So the reason why we want to keep that thicker part in the bottom is because one of the best parts of a pretzel is the variation in textures that you get. So we tapered the ends and got these thinner parts here. Those are gonna bake up to be crispy in the oven. And then this belly that we formed that kept it a little bit thicker, that's gonna be the fluffiest part. So then when you're eating it, you get each of those different bites. And once I get it on the tray, I want to correct the shape a little bit. Any part that got distorted when I was transferring it, the way that it lands on this tray is going to be the final shape, because after this point we freeze them before we dip and bake. So make sure that you correct them at this point. Put a little plastic wrap on top and pop them into the freezer until they're semi-frozen. While we're waiting for the pretzels to freeze, we are going to mix up the lye solution. The solution is made with water and sodium hydroxide, or lye. It's a caustic alkaline solution. It's extremely acidic. That's what gives the pretzel the super shiny and flavorful caramelized crust. I'm gonna pour in the water first. This is just room temperature water. You definitely wanna wear latex or rubber gloves when you're doing this, because if the lye gets onto your skin, it will burn you instantly. I'm going to just agitate the water a little bit and start dissolving the lye as I shear it in. So if you didn't have access to lye, you could substitute baking soda, which isn't quite as acidic, but will have a similar reaction. Intensify the acidity in the baking soda by baking it in the oven, just on a sheet tray, for about an hour. And then you can do the same process with the condensed baking soda. It does improve the browning reaction on the crust, but it's not quite as flavorful. Just check that it's completely dissolved, and I think we're there. I'm gonna dip my semi-frozen pretzel into the lye solution for about 10 seconds. As it sits in there, you'll notice it starts to turn a little yellow on the exterior. That's all of the starches in the dough dissolving from the extreme acidity. Once the pretzels go into the oven, the lye is neutralized, so it's fine to eat. Now that all my pretzels are dipped, they have a nice sticky exterior, and that's when you want to salt them. So I'm using a nice crunchy gray sea salt here. It gets super, super crisp and crunchy in the oven, and I want to make sure to get a really nice coating. There's nothing more sad than a undersalted pretzel. And now we'll put them in the oven. So how you dispose of the lye solution is you pour it down your drain for a little double duty drain cleaning. Beauty. And just like that, presto pretzel. This is our miso honey mustard. Got a little black sesame seed in there. Oh yeah. So From our tapered ends, like a little bit of crunch. If you tear into the bottom, the belly, you get like super fluffy, almost like feathery dough. The flavor from the lye dip is like, it's like addictive. It took us a few steps to get here. We made the dough, chilled it a couple times, we shaped it, but in the end, eating a like fresh pretzel baked in your home kitchen is like the greatest payoff of all time. For the recipe, click the link in the description below.